a new podcast episode today. Today, we're looking at learning English through news, as well as some pronunciations and some other bits along the way. And I have a co-host. It's Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan. No, joking. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Let's talk about some news.
Yes, let's do it. Okay. So today's episode, we're going to be going through three articles. We're going to be going through some of the difficult words for you to understand in the article. And then we'll go through some pronunciation and a little bit of shadowing as well for each one. Then we'll have a little chat afterwards about something to do with the topic. So let's get into the first one. The first one is all about TikTok and WHO join forces to combat misinformation. So a lot already in the title, but we're going to find out more as we go through the article. I'll read through the first paragraph, then we will go back through and look at some of the definitions that we find in this article that are a little tricky. Some of the words we find a little tricky. So here we go. In response to the growing spread of health misinformation, the World Health Organization, WHO, has partnered with TikTok to tackle misleading content on the platform. With over 1 billion global users, TikTok has become a significant source of health information, particularly for young audiences. However, the viral nature of short-form videos often leads to sensationalized and incorrect health data circulating rapidly. This collaboration aims to provide accurate, evidence-based content, empowering users with trustworthy information on vital health issues like vaccines and disease prevention. Now, as you can see in this paragraph, we have 4 words in red. Those are the ones we are going to be focusing on in this video. But if you look in the description, there is a PDF with a lot more of the words from these articles being explained with examples and some extra little bits in there. So go check it out. It's in the description if you want it. So let's go through the first one. Misinformation. Dan, what does this mean?
So misinformation then is a noun, and it's related to something being false or inaccurate, and it's not by accident. Usually it's unintentionally a little misleading.
Yeah.
Because maybe it'll get more clicks on TikTok, for example. As an example of this in use, you could say something like, the newspaper article was full of misinformation about the new policy, which caused confusion among the readers.
Or even better,
misinformation.
Or even better, the thumbnail for this video should be, I am practicing with the most handsome British teacher that I found available. That would be misinformation, right, Dan?
And Stu.
And Stu, no, exactly. About you.
Well, definitely misinformation then. But yes, misinformation.
Okay, so that's a good one. So yeah, nice definition, nice example. So here it says, in response to the growing spread of health misinformation. So obviously there's a lot of incorrect information about health online on social media. Okay, for the next one we have partnered with. So partner could be the person you're married to, right?
I mean, that's one definition of the word partner, but when you get it as a verb phrase, like partnered with somebody or something, it usually means that those two things are collaborating or forming some kind of an alliance or making a new organization. Like us, we're partnered with each other to make this podcast. So yeah, good example.
Yeah, 100%. That's fantastic. And then the next one, sensationalized. This time I can say it correctly. Sensationalized. So
this is an interesting one for British English and American English, because we will probably spell this a little differently to the Americans. They would use a Z or a Z, and we would use an S in sensationalized. But in terms of the meaning, it's a verb in this case, and it's to present information in a way that's intended to provoke people's interest. Like they're presenting the facts in a way that will get people talking, or maybe make them worried or excited, even if it's not completely accurate. So, for example, the Oasis tour reunion sensationalized the amount of tickets that would be available, even though it was quite different in real life.
Yeah, there we go. So sensationalized, a very long word, a tricky one. We will come back to, I'm sure. In this case, it says, however, the viral nature of short form videos often leads to sensationalized and incorrect health data or giving
Mm.
misinformation, as we were talking about earlier. And then it brings in our next word, which is circulating.
Mm. So to circulate is to move something around, to distribute it, to spread the information around. Maybe materials like a video gets sent from one person to another. It circulates around a group. You'll often hear this with the word rumor. There's a rumor circulating around the office that everybody's going to get fired, you know.
Yes, nice
So
example.
yeah, I mean, hopefully not if you're working and you're hearing these rumors, but I just made it up. It's probably not real. Don't worry.
Misinformation once again. There it is. He's back.
Mm,
Okay, so those are some of the key words from this paragraph. Let's look at some pronunciation from this paragraph as well. I want to look at this word, one of the most popular ones that people struggle with, which is the word world. And I've used two words next to each other that people don't like. I don't like it. So we have word and then we have world, this dark
mm,
L, which causes a lot of tricky, lot of difficulty for many learners. So just watch out for that old world.
mm,
Okay. And then the next one that we're going to be looking at is the word particularly. 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 Would you say it the same way?
particularly. Yeah,
Yeah.
the stress on the second syllable.
Yeah, that's right. Particularly. So be careful with this first A because we have a schwa sound here. P
Mm,
rather than having the it's a instead. Yeah, so watch out for that. Particularly, lily. This bit at the
mm.
end is also very tricky, especially if you're a Japanese speaker or
Oh
South
God,
Asian,
yeah.
Southern Asian, from Southern Asia. If you're from Southern Asia, this lily, lily. Actually, I'm kind of dropping this R away. I'm not even thinking about this R. Well, it's not because actually in British English we wouldn't pronounce this R. Maybe in American English it's a little bit trickier.
Mm,
um, I'm using, and again, another schwa here, li,
mm.
particularly. Yeah, so we're making it a little easier for you here, for you over here in British English, you see.
Yeah.
Um, and then the next one is audiences. Audiences, specifically this AU sound at the start, which many people struggle with. So audiences. And two more. We're going to go over this one that I couldn't say at the beginning. Sensationalized. Sensationalized. So I had tricky when I first read, if you had a little difficulty when I first read at the start. And then last one, the word we just went over, circulating. This S sound at the start, circulating. And this U in the middle as well. Many people might want to say instead of you, circulating. Okay, so watch out for that. Okay, nice job. Let's go into the second paragraph. So I'll read through the second paragraph, and we've got a couple of words in here we'll go over. The partnership also focuses on leveraging TikTok's massive reach to counter misinformation on crucial topics such as COVID-19, mental health, and emerging diseases. By ensuring that verified information appears more prominently, WHO and TikTok hope to reduce the risks associated with the incorrect, reduce the risks associated with incorrect health advice, which has sometimes led to dangerous outcomes, especially during global health crises. This initiative reflects a broader trend of digital platforms working with authoritative bodies to safeguard public health in the digital age. Okay, again, some tricky words in here. Here we go with our first one. We have leveraging. What's it mean?
Leveraging. Yeah, good one. So to leverage something, leveraging. Once again, it's a verb, and we use it to describe when we use something to its maximum possible advantage or to get the best possible results from something. For example, you guys listening are leveraging online podcasts and online teachers to improve your English skills. So good work on leveraging that kind of thing.
Great. Yeah, that's a fantastic example. And here also we're seeing in the sentence, the partnership also focuses on leveraging TikTok's massive reach. So
Mm,
reach referring to how many people it gets to. So
mm,
a very useful thing that many people who are influencers on social media, a lot of businesses leverage those to get to more customers. The
mm.
next one to look at is to counter.
Yeah, to counter is an interesting one. And in British English, the counter can be in a supermarket where you pay for things,
It certainly
but
can.
that's not what we're talking about here. This is a verb, not a noun, and it means to kind of argue the opposite side to something. If Stu says the sky is blue, maybe I'm going to say the sky is red, and I'm going to counter his argument.
And then I
So
would
we're
say that is misinformation.
sometimes it's red, so I'm not having that. Anyway, to oppose something, to disagree with something, to act in an opposite way to something, that's to counter it, to give a counter argument towards it. Yeah, that's what I would say for that one.
Nice. So they're trying to stop this misinformation by using TikTok's audience
Mm,
and trying to get the information out to them. So, and then we have verified. Now, it's quite a
mm.
common word these days.
And especially online. Most people will associate the word verified with the little blue tick that you'll see next to people's names to show that they are who they say they are. It's authentic, it's real, it's proven to be true or accurate and through investigation. Like, we're not just guessing if it's the right person. There's been some kind of information checked and like, yep, that is the right person. That's, I don't know, Johnny Depp. So he's got his little blue tick to make sure everybody knows that's the real Johnny Depp. Now, verified in this context with verified sources, what they're saying is that they are checking that information is 100% accurate and true. It's been tested. It's from some reliable source. And when they're sure that it's correct, then they're going to put it out there. So there's some kind of research that's happened before it goes out.
Okay, nice. That's great. So they're going to verify this information again, stopping misinformation. And then the last one for this one is a very important word to safeguard.
Interesting. So safeguard is, it can be a noun, but it can also be a verb. But it basically means to protect something from harm or damage, right? So if, for example, you're learning to skateboard, maybe you're going to wear a helmet and some elbow pads and some knee pads to safeguard your body from being damaged if you fall off, which probably is going to happen a lot when you start skateboarding, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely so. So yeah, be careful with that. Also, safeguard can be in terms of being careful. You'll hear it a lot in with vulnerable people. So, for example,
Mm,
children within schools or something along maybe people who have a disability as well, and how we can
mm,
help them keep them safe, basically. So,
sure,
safeguard
yeah,
very important if you're in a lot of public sector jobs to
for
know that.
sure.
Okay, let's go over some pronunciation from this paragraph, and then we're going to read through these two paragraphs, give you the chance to practice your understanding of the two paragraphs, and also you could do some shadowing alongside. We're going to read through it all the way through twice, once with from myself and once from Dan, so you can hear two different accents over the same piece of material as well. So let's first of all look at the couple of small words in here that were a little tricky for the second paragraph. We have the word focuses. Now, a lot of people try and use the oh here at the start, and I probably wouldn't do that because it sounds like a swear word. So just be careful with that one, okay? So focuses, okay? The
Mm,
next one we'll look at leveraging, okay? And then the next one after that, a lot of people try to put a k sound for this second C, but we're going to use an S again. Crucial. It's more like a sh, isn't it? Actually, more like
mm,
like shop. Crucial. Okay, and then down here, this one is an interesting one. Es. If you think of boxes, we think is, but in this case, we're actually going to say something slightly different. This is crises. Seas. So it's a bit different to what you would have thought when first looking at the word. So watch out for that. Crises. And then one more we're going to look at is authoritative. Authoritative. Okay, this is a tricky one because you've got this here, this A in between the two T's, but you barely hear it because it's more like a schwa here. Authoritative. Authoritative. Okay, so watch out for those. Now, I'll read through these two paragraphs. You can read along with me if you want to practice your shadowing, or just listen along if you want to practice your understanding. See if you understand a lot more this time after our explanations. Here we go. In response to the growing spread of health misinformation, the World Health Organization has partnered with TikTok to tackle misleading content on the platform. With over 1 billion global users, TikTok has become a significant source of health information, particularly for younger audiences. However, the viral nature of short-form videos often leads to sensationalized and incorrect health data circulating rapidly. This collaboration aims to provide accurate, evidence-based content, empowering users with trustworthy information on vital health issues like vaccines and disease prevention. The partnership also focuses on leveraging TikTok's massive reach to counter misinformation on crucial topics such as COVID-19, mental health, and emerging diseases. By ensuring that verified information appears more prominently, WHO and TikTok hope to reduce the risks associated with incorrect health advice, which has sometimes led to dangerous outcomes, especially during global health crises. This initiative reflects a broader trend of digital platforms working with authoritative bodies to safeguard public health in the digital age.
Good job, Stu. Good job.
Thank you very much. I tried my best. Okay, this time it is Dan's turn. So Dan's going to read through this chance, gives you a chance to listen to it with a different accent and see how you feel. Can you hear differences? If you do, tell us the words you hear different in the comments.
There will definitely be some differences, but I'll give it my best shot, okay? In response to the growing spread of health misinformation, the World Health Organization has partnered with TikTok to tackle misleading content on the platform. With over 1 billion global users, TikTok has become a significant source of health information, particularly for younger audiences. However, the viral nature of short-form video often leads to sensationalized and incorrect health data circulating rapidly. This collaboration aims to provide accurate, evidence-based content empowering users with trustworthy information on vital health issues like vaccines and disease prevention. The partnership also focuses on leveraging TikTok's massive reach to counter misinformation on crucial topics such as COVID-19, mental health, and emerging diseases. By ensuring that verified information appears more prominently, the WHO and TikTok hope to reduce the risks associated with incorrect health advice, which has sometimes led to dangerous outcomes, especially during global health crises. The initiative reflects a broader trend of digital platforms working with authoritative bodies to safeguard public health in the digital age.
Okay, fantastic job. Excellent reading.
Cheers, mate.
Almost like you're a native. I should mention, I didn't mention at the start, but obviously I'm from the south of England and Dan is from the north of England. So this is what's going to be a big benefit, I think, to hear both of us using our different ways of speaking. So you can get used to different flavors of British English because there's not just one, there's many. So it's good to learn about all of these different types. Okay, great job. So I'd love to know, do you think there's a lot of misinformation on social media?
Yeah, these days, I mean, the word that you hear all the time now is fake news. Like that seems to be the buzz term that has replaced the word misinformation, especially related to, if there's an election coming up, it's just crazy. And during the pandemic, there was so much misinformation circulating that you just didn't know what was happening anymore. And it was really hard to get verified information. So, yeah, I don't know. Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, whenever I look online and I look on, for example, Twitter, X, sorry, or or Instagram. There's a lot of information. It's really opinions, and people state them as facts. So for me, it's a bit frustrating. It's a bit draining. So these days, I'm trying to back away a lot from reading too much on social media. Just try and use it for example, I'm studying Japanese. I'm also learning chess, so I use it for more of those purposes than for trying to get information off of it because
Mm.
it's so toxic in my opinion.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. And I think to use that word again, safeguard, you're almost safeguarding your mental health by not, because it's very easy once you start scrolling. Doom scrolling is what they call it, because you just do it until you feel terrible about your life, right?
Yeah.
And it's very tricky, especially for young people. It must be really difficult to, because they've not really known any different. Like that's all they've ever known, and that's where they get their information from. They get their information from TikTok. And there's nothing to stop me making something that's not true just because I know people will watch it. And there's nothing to stop me doing that. There's no safeguards in place for that.
Yeah. So if you have kids, make sure you partner with your partner
Hey!
and try your best to safeguard your children from social
Wow.
media a
You
little bit.
shoehorned some of those words in there, mate.
Yeah, I tried
Good
to chuck
job.
up how many can I get in one sentence? Is the question. Uh, my record so far, that was three of them. So I'll try
Good
and
job.
next time. Okay, we're going to go on to the second article. It's about Hurricane Helena. How would you pronounce it?
Helene. I would
Helena?
Helene, because God, I don't know. I mean, they always have strange
Helene?
names. Helene,
I should
Helena.
probably check that before doing this. But anyway, my bad. Helene. We're going to say Helene for today.
Hello, it's Stu Sensei from the future. I'm just popping in here just to go over the name, the correct pronunciation of this name. So apologies for our ignorance here. As I said, I don't personally watch news too frequently. I find it very negative. I find that most opinions are kind of biased and there isn't a two-sided thing on the media these days, so I try not to watch it. But for these podcast episodes, I do read a little bit, and I hadn't heard the pronunciation of this name up until this point. So it's very interesting. I think it's good to see that even native speakers don't know the pronunciation of every single word. We also have to do some research, and that's what I've done for you after we recorded this video. So the correct pronunciation for this name is Helene. Helene, or that's what I've heard on American media anyway. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Let's get back into the video.
Sure.
Obviously, a big storm that's affecting the USA at the minute.
Mm.
You may think it's here as well. Look at this. Oh, it's just because it's so hot. I got a fan on. That's it. Nothing else. But it's no storm here.
So there's not a giant wave behind you, is what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even think about that as well. I got the wind. I got way. I just need
And a tree as well. You got a little tree behind you as well.
And a tree. Yeah,
Wow.
that was. I just need an earthquake, and we'll have nearly all of.
Don't jinx that. Not where we live.
Yeah, well, here there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be looking through this article, same as the last time. So the title is Hurricane Helene, a powerful storm hits Florida. Okay, so here we go. First paragraph, a little short one. We've got some nice, really nice phrases in here. On September 26th, 2024, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 storm packing winds of up to 140 miles per hour. This powerful storm caused widespread devastation across multiple states, including Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, as it moved inland. Okay, so we've got a few things to pick up on here. The first one is made landfall. What do you say for that?
So when a storm, because storms usually start out at sea and then they move towards land, and when they actually get from the sea onto the land, we use this verb phrase to make landfall. So yeah, when it stops being on the water and starts being on the land, it's made landfall. That's when things usually get pretty bad.
And packing winds.
Because it's a serious topic, I'll not make the joke I was about to make. But to
What are you
pack
packing? Winds.
well, after a Friday night curry, mate, you never know. Anyway, so this is a serious situation. Let's compose ourselves. So if a storm in this case is packing winds, it's something packing a component of itself. Like a storm has wind. So a storm is packing winds, right? It means it's like carrying its with. We often use it like that boxer packs a punch, for example. And this is the same kind of thing. And it kind of implies that whatever it's got is very strong. Like if a boxer packs a punch, it's going to be very strong. Or if a storm is packing wind, then it's going to have very strong winds. So, yeah.
Yes. And then I've just added this one actually, MPH, because many people when reading will just say MPH. But actually, when we say it out loud, we never say 140 MPH because that sounds very strange. We always give the full words instead. So 140 miles per hour in this case. So
with our British measurements of miles per hour.
Miles per hour. It could be kilometers, of course. So yeah, there's many different combinations where it's just the abbreviation, but then you'd actually put in the full words. Yeah.
I think the same happened previously with like World Health Organization or WHO or WHO.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah. Sometimes if it makes a word or if it has a kind of easy to roll off the tongue combination, we do say just the letters. But yeah, in a lot of cases, we do just say the full terms instead.
It's just easier for writing, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And in this paragraph, I do want to bring up four words. So for pronunciation, we have hurricane. Hurricane. So watch out for that one. Hurricane, yeah.
Not Harry Kane.
Not Harry Kane. Great player. And then we have the three states in America. We have Georgia, Carolina, and Tennessee. Okay, Georgia, Carolina, Tennessee. Okay, nice. So let's go on to the second paragraph. Here we go. Helene brought dangerous storm surges of up to 15 feet in some areas of Florida, particularly in Taylor and Dixie counties. Massive flooding and high winds left over 1 million people without power and caused catastrophic damage to infrastructure. NASA and NOAA satellites captured detailed imagery of the storm, assisting federal and state agencies in coordinating disaster response efforts. While the storm weakened to a tropical depression as it moved inland, it continued to bring heavy rainfall and flooding, particularly to North Carolina and South Carolina. So a great example of what we literally just talked about. So I said NASA. We don't say the full thing there, do we? But then when I went to this second one, I didn't know what it was actually. I'd never heard. I still don't. I haven't heard of this term or this abbreviation. So it's obviously a company that is similar in some kind of in some kind of something to do with space, of course. So I just said the letter, so NOAA. So that's quite an interesting small thing to pick out from this. But also there's three great terms here. We have storm surges.
Storm surges. So when a storm, such as a hurricane or typhoon, whatever you want to call it, causes a rise, usually in sea level or maybe river level or water level in general, causes a rise of this, we would call it a surge. And especially in coastal areas, you'll often get warnings. Here in Japan, you'll get warnings about the fact that a storm is coming and maybe there'll be flooding due to storm surges, especially if you're near the coast. So any storm that causes the sea level or the water level to rise where it could become dangerous, that's a storm surge.
Okay, that's fantastic. And in terms of the next one, imagery.
Imagery, obviously this comes from the word image.
Yeah, perfect.
So imagery, it just basically kind of refers to the concept of pictures or visuals. And we tend to use it as imagery from satellites. It's quite common to talk about imagery from satellites as like a collocation. You'll often see those two words together.
Okay.
So yeah.
visual
Uh,
imagery or something like this, where it's something we've thought about and we're
mm,
showing it in some sort of way. Or
yeah.
I hear visual imagery in terms of like a dance, some kind of representation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like exactly correct, but it's like an image of it, like a version of it. So yeah.
Yeah, something that maybe you hadn't put an image to, and it's brought
Mm,
together via the form of some other medium, like
like
dance.
expressive dance.
Yeah,
I
expressive
said dance just for you there, by the way.
dance. Wow, you can really dance. Here we go. The next one. Tropical depression.
Wow. And this is not just feeling bad because you live in Hawaii or something.
Yeah.
This is a special kind of storm. And it's usually where a big storm kind of gets weaker in a way.
Reducing
And
strength.
yeah, it's kind of like it gets tired after a bit. You know, it's putting all this energy out and it just needs a bit of a break. So it goes from a storm to a tropical depression, but it's still got, strong winds, lots of rain, but it's not quite a tropical storm or a hurricane. So,
Nice. Have you ever experienced a typhoon here
yeah,
and how it's like in the eye of the typhoon?
it's crazy because you're like, oh, it's finished.
Yeah, it feels like it's dead. Like typhoon is basically, I think typhoon, cyclone, and hurricane are all the same things, just in different regions of the world, actually. So,
Mm.
in Southeast Asia, we say typhoon. A cyclone, I think, is in near around India, and then hurricane is more towards the Americas. And when you typhoons or hurricanes are just full of wind, so much wind, so much rain, and then in when you're in the eye of it, it's like it's like when you're watching a horror movie
And like the
and suddenly
calm.
the calm, literally the calm before the storm, as one
Yeah.
of the phrases would be that you could have. But it's so deathly quiet, and you look around. There's nothing happening. Tumbleweed is going across.
Like in
It's
an old
visual
Mexican,
imagery.
like in an old Western film, like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's interesting, isn't it? But obviously, this is more referring to maybe the tail end of
Yeah, like the when it's kind of done its thing, it's moved on, and yeah,
Okay, that's fantastic. So yeah, three great pieces of vocabulary from this article, and then some pronunciation. We have flooding. So I've heard some people say flooding or something like this.
mm,
Actually, the pronunciation is flooding or flooding. Okay, and then the next one, very important word to know: infrastructure. Infrastructure. So infrastructure. Yeah. Next one up is this one, which again has a schwa instead of this, what you'd imagine would be an E sound. It's a schwa. Satellites, satellites, satellites. And then next up, we have imagery, imagery, imagery. And the reason why I bring this one up is because of this G, the J instead of a G. And then instead of this E almost disappears. Again, there's a slight schwa in the middle, but imagery, it's like you're joining up G and R in this case. It sounds a bit like that. So imagery. Okay. Okay, wonderful. We're going to read through once each. Once again, check your understanding or practice some shadowing from either of us. So let's go through it. Here we go. On September 26th, 2024, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 storm, packing winds of up to 140 miles per hour. This powerful storm caused widespread devastation across multiple states, including Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, as it moved inland. Helene brought dangerous storm surges of up to 15 feet in some areas of Florida, particularly in Taylor and Dixie counties. Massive flooding and high winds left over 1 million people without power and caused catastrophic damage to infrastructure. NASA and NOAA satellites captured detailed imagery of the storm, assisting federal and state agencies in coordinating disaster response efforts. While the storm weakened to a tropical depression as it moved inland, it continued to bring heavy rainfall and flooding, particularly to North Carolina and South Carolina. Okay.
good job, mate. Good job.
Whenever I go over the word Helene. I'm like, part of me
Which
is
one is it?
Helene or Helen. I'm like, which
Helm.
one should I use and which one have I used? I'm thinking, because I'm trying to think. Oh,
Consistency. That's what we need.
consistency is what we need. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, Dan's turn. Here we go.
Okay.
All of
So
you fans of northern accents, get your
just
shadow.
just wait till we get to the word flooding in
Oh,
my accent. So that'll
okay.
be something we can talk about in a second. But on September 26, 2024, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 storm, packing winds of up to 140 miles per hour. This powerful storm caused widespread devastation across multiple states, including Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, as it moved inland. Helene brought dangerous storm surges of up to 15 feet in some areas of Florida, particularly in Taylor and Dixie counties. Massive flooding and high winds left over 1 million people without power and caused catastrophic damage to infrastructure. NASA and NOAA satellites captured detailed imagery of the storm, assisting federal and state agencies in coordinating disaster response efforts. While the storm weakened to a tropical depression as it moved inland, it continued to bring heavy rainfall and flooding, particularly to North Carolina and South Carolina.
Okay, there we go. Nice. That's fantastic. So flooding.
So yeah, this is a big difference between our accents. For you guys in the South, you've got like what 12 vowel sounds, and in the North, we pretty much got 11 because there's one of them we don't use that I had to learn when I became a teacher, and that is flooding, flooding. For
Nice.
me, flooding.
Flooding.
It's got the same as in foot,
Yeah.
flooding,
Flooding. That's
and
it.
love and bus.
Okay. So there's a bit of a difference as you saw. Also, I'm trying my best to say the T's. I mean, when I speak as naturally as possible, there's a little difference between my accent today as there would be in a natural conversation, I think. But I'm trying to be as precise as I can be in my teacher voice or whatever you want to call it to make it as clear as possible. But
I'm not doing that.
yeah, no, but that's the good thing. That's a good thing because it shows there's a few things that are popping up in your pronunciation that's different to mine, which normally would be the same, I think, which is the glottality. Yeah, so today I'm trying my best to be as precise with my pronunciation, just to give a bit more variety between us two. But yeah, for you, there's some glottal T's happening as well, and this flooding one is very
Flooding.
flooding.
Yeah.
Flooding. Okay, yeah, this is a very interesting one as well. Great feature. Okay, fantastic. And then we got one last one for you, but this is a kind of a quick one, nice, simple one. It's from a local newspaper, and it just goes to show you the difference between a newspaper that you get or a news outlet that you get for major stories and a news outlet that is locally and how they try and fill the newspaper with local information. So,
Lovely.
I'm from, well, half my life I lived in Devon, so it's my second home is in Devon. And from there, I've picked up a newspaper called the Cornish and Devon Post. And
Oh
if
my
it's
God.
newspaper or from this news site, I picked up an article that we're going to look after now. So it's a bit of fun. We're going to still get some words out of it. There's actually some nice phrases that I've picked out from this one. We're going to try and read through a bit of it and then a little bit of pronunciation. There won't be so much shadowing on this one. It's just a bit of fun. See how much you can understand. This one, I'd say there's a lot more simplified language compared to the major media outlet. Not maybe because of the type of content it is. Yeah,
A bit more light-hearted, I would imagine.
a bit more light-hearted. Yeah, so it's a bit simplified. See how much of this you can understand. Here we go. I'll read through the majority of it, I think, this time. Primary school apologizes after children come home covered in mud. Okay, and here we go. Oh, here's a subtitle as well. They plan to try and limit children's exposure to mud. Here we go. While a down-to-earth approach to learning is, oh, blimey, one more time. While a down-to-earth approach to learning and development is often commended, a Devonshire primary school has issued an apology after pupils took it literally. The school has apologized to parents after children came home from school muddy. In addition to the recent weather turning outdoor areas into mud baths, the school recently introduced a muddy play area for its students to engage with the great outdoors. After the first week of learning in September, a student had said, "The best thing about playtimes now is the mud." However, the school has now moved to clarify that they have adjusted the rules and spaces to make sure that the children don't bring the mud home with them. Okay. You got an opinion already. Let's save it. Let's save it. Here we go. We're going to go through four phrases. Sorry, down to earth. So we need to talk about two things with this one, though. So down to earth. What does it mean?
So usually it's an adjective we use to describe a person most of the time, and it means that they are practical, they're humble, they're sensible, and usually they're relatively easy to get on with if they're down to earth, right? So we often use it to talk about rich people. So like if somebody's very rich, you expect them to be quite distant. But if they're like a normal person, they're very down to earth. The person that comes to mind, Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, yeah.
He seems like a very down to earth guy, like a normal everyday guy. But obviously he's this megastar. So there's a bit of thing there. But yeah, down to earth, describing somebody like that.
Okay, nice job. But the reason why I have to talk about it is because of the way they've used it in the article. So they've done a play on words here. That means
Sure.
kind of making a not necessarily funny, but kind of a jokey kind of
like
way.
a pun, as we would often say it, yeah.
So while a down-to-earth approach to learning, one that keeps children centered and humble, but actually using earth because the topic is about mud.
Earth, there's a connection there.
But
Yeah.
this is one thing to watch out for in news articles, which may sound a little confusing. So just watch out. Is there any connection between the topic and this phrase and the way they used it in a different way to what you expected, kind of thing?
Okay. We love that kind of wordplay, and it's no accident that they've chosen that.
Yeah, 100%. It's completely done on purpose. Commend, to commend someone.
So if you hear the word commend, probably it means to praise or to congratulate somebody or to sing its praises, if you like, to say it's great. For example, Stu commended me for the hard work that I did in this podcast.
Hey, wait, it hasn't happened yet.
And I actually have done very little. I've just shown up and talked.
He's done lots.
Actually, I should be commending Stu for the background work that's gone into this podcast.
You mean this? There's a bit of wordplay.
Way background. We can't help ourselves. It's the Britishness coming through.
That's a rubbish joke. Anyway, so it's basically to say that someone did well. This one is a simple one, actually, but actually, the reason why I highlighted this one is because I think people don't realize how we can utilize simple words in this kind of way. So as description, to the way to describe something. So if someone is muddy, they're full of mud. That's it. It's very, very simple. But I think people often look at words and they think, oh, this must be something completely new. But in English, there's like oftentimes, especially if you have simple words, it appears, and then also especially the Latin words, you'll see like action. So a good one is if you know that marine means to do with the sea, then submarine, sub means under. Then you've got one word because you've got a new word because you know these connections. Yeah, aquamarine or something. There's
you often get like suffixes or like prefixes.
They appear that's more so in Latin. But in this case, we're adjusting mud to be able to describe something. So yeah.
So
nice.
In that case, mud is the thing, and muddy is the adjective of something that's covered in the thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and last one is clarify.
Which is interesting because if we go back to the word muddy, we can use that as almost like the opposite of clarity, So somebody's explanation was very muddy. It wasn't clear. It wasn't easy to understand because mud is not clear. You could use it in that way as well. But Muddy, generally in the case we're talking in this article, is to be covered in mud. And to clarify is to make something clear or easier to understand. As teachers, we often end up clarifying vocabulary and meaning when people are not sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of the point of this video, to be honest, and this podcast. And then a good example was when we did it, we doubled it up with down to earth. So we gave the definition, we clarified what it meant, but then clarified what it meant in context of the article as well. So yeah.
Good.
Okay. That's great. What do you think about this article, though? I'd love to know. I mean, is it political correctness gone mad?
What's next? Kids in safety goggles walking down the streets? No. I come from, I was born in the 80s. I come from a generation where it was normal to go out and play in the park, play football, and come home covered in mud. And that was like a normal thing for us to do. But times have changed and things have changed. And I also didn't go to school in trainers that cost 100 quid, So I can understand why maybe some parents get upset if they spend all this money on nice clothes for their kids and send them to school and they come back covered in mud. Maybe they'd be upset. But from the kids' perspective, is it not a lot of fun to be like messing around in the mud and, not just sat on an iPad or something? That's kind of my thought process. Like for the kids, this is awesome. Let them play in the mud, let them have some fun. For the parents, maybe it's not that much fun when they've got to, wash all their clothes and stuff. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that I was similar to you, and I remember, I can't remember when I was obviously 4, 5, 6 or something. A lot of those memories have disappeared, but I remember playing a lot of football growing up, and there would be like in England. There's a big difference between in Japan football and in England football. One of them is that when it's raining, rain stops play. And for me, that's insane because it must be because of rugby, I guess, because in rugby, we just go all out in the rain. We love it. But for football, I used to play on waterlogged pitches,
Good word.
full of water. Like you can basically run it like you would see Maradona do in the 80s. It still was like that when I was younger. So, and I think I've grown up to be a relatively good human being. So I can't really see, I think sometimes we worry a bit too much about that side of things as parents, which is understandable as well, because we want to
overly safeguarding your children.
Yeah, but for me, there's an element of learned helplessness as well when we do. So we have to be careful, and not just to say. I think personally that that environment that I grew up allowed me to be. I'm not really sick. So I think it builds your immune system as well to a limit. Obviously, there's a limit to everything, but I do think it does help. Yeah.
Because you got all the little bugs and germs and stuff while you were playing football in the park as a kid. So you've got antibodies and there's probably some argument there.
I hope so. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. Okay. To finish with, we've got a quick quiz for you. So what do you remember from today's practice? Did you get all of the terms? We're going to find out now. So the first one, we're going to do 2 questions. The first one is this. Please fill the gap. The company decided to its strong online presence to increase sales. And there are 4 potential answers. We have clarify, engage, leverage, adjust. What do you think the answer is? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer. Here we go. And the answer is the company decided to leverage its strong online presence to increase sales. Okay, if you got that one, great job. Can you get the last one, though? Despite his wealth and success, he remains very and approachable. The potential answers are muddy, down to earth, aftermath, significant. Give you 5 seconds. Here we go. And the answer is, despite his wealth and success, he remains very down to earth and approachable. Actually, that matches your example you gave.
Yeah, about Keanu Reeves, basically.
100%.
Good job with the quiz. Good work.
Fantastic. So tell us how you did in the comments. Tell us if you thought this video was useful in the comments as well. And thank you very much for watching if you got this far. Don't forget to check out the PDF, which has much more information. The articles are a little bit more extended, and there's a lot more definitions and bits in there for you as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Ciao, ciao.